Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Hello and welcome to the video wrap-up show for the Shrimp Tank podcast here in Seattle. I'm Dan Whedon and I'm joined by my co-host, Phil Simchich. We had a fascinating and really fun conversation today with our guest, Rick Pay. To catch the entire episode, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find all of our episodes on our brand new website at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle.
Rick, over the decades, you've helped a lot of clients to improve profitability, implement new strategies, specifically through operations and supply chain strategy tactics implementation. One of the things that stood out for me was how you talked about the people side of those implementations. Can you tell us more why people are, and how you deal with people are so important to the overall transition process?
Well, thanks, Phil. People are really where the rubber hits the road when you're implementing almost anything in an organization, but especially with operations and supply chain. And that's people both internal and external to the organization. So developing partnerships with your employees, with other organizations within your company, such as engineering, and then with your suppliers and even with your customers are really important in the success of the company. And I think being able to focus on that people side more than just technical or parts or materials is really important to success.
Rick, you've seen a lot in your career, in your coaching and in your consulting. I'm wondering if there were three things that CEOs, business leaders aren't doing now, but really need to for, for the future and where business is going. What are the three things that those CEOs may not be doing right now?
Well, I think that's a very deep question. There's probably more than three, but I think three things that I see get sort of short shrift by leaders in companies is number one, first and foremost, developing a really strong team and making sure that that team is in alignment with the directions of the company. I've had a number of clients where I would ask them to force rank 5 or 6 key elements of strategy, and the CEO and his key executive team members never gave me the same answer. And so they were literally prioritizing different things, and then they would wonder why their performance was substandard. The second thing I think is to make sure you develop partnerships, both internal and external to the organization, and especially with the suppliers. CEOs and others should be out talking to suppliers. Keep in mind, that's probably your number one spend within the company is on materials of one sort or another, whether you're buying completed units or buying raw materials for your own production. And that we need to be out talking to those people and exploring how you can improve service and improve costs and so on. And I think the third thing that really any leader needs to think about is their transition out of the company. That's going to be a process that's probably 3 or 5 years down the road, and they need to be thinking how they're going to separate and who they're going to hand the ball off to when they leave.
Awesome. Rick, thank you so much for being a guest here on the Shrimp Tank. For our listeners that want to get in touch with you, and for the CEOs and CFOs that want more advice on how to make their operations and supply chain more profitable and a strategic weapon these days, how do they get a hold of you?
My email is probably the best way, which is rickp@rpaycompany.com.
Awesome. Everyone, make sure you check out all the replays on shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle and wherever you get your podcast from, such as iHeart, Apple, or Google. And please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Rick, thanks very much for being on the show with us. We learned a ton. Everybody should listen to the entire podcast. Phil, as always, thank you. Everyone, please join us every week at 12 p.m. Pacific for our live stream broadcast on our Facebook page. Our next show will be November 23rd. Please join us. Until we see you again, be healthy, be prosperous, and of course, have fun. because for right now, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond, and a shrimp